Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. Cases, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
Welcome in. We're back here on the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network, live on YouTube. as we are high noon Eastern time every weekday. And then wherever you get your podcasts as well. We're talking nothing but Boston sports. That's all we do. So if that's what you're looking for, you're headed to the right place. Of course, as you saw in the thumbnail, we will be talking about Marco Sturm as the new head coach of the Boston Bruins a month and a half later. I've been trying to find some things to be positive about for Marco Sturm, and I might have found it, but I might have also debunked it. Also, we will talk about the Bruins goalie situation. Haven't talked about that so far this offseason. Why have they put themselves in a really tough corner with the goaltenders once again? And what's it going to take to get rid of the one that needs getting rid of? And how important will that be for this Bruins season? And then we will shift to the Red Sox. They have one of the worst starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. Are we seeing the early crumbling of Walker Buehler's career right before our eyes? And what does that mean for this team and their postseason stretch here? Their real stretch drive to make the playoffs coming up in the dog days of August. All that and more coming up on this episode of The Cam Show. But we start where we start. I am still not sold on Marco Sturm being the head coach of the Boston Bruins. People have tried, friends of mine, the media covering this, they've tried to convince me that Marco Sturm is the guy. And I'm not seeing it. I was disappointed with the hiring in the first place because A, it took so long, and B, it feels like an entry-level job again. Like, why can't the Bruins get a guy who's coached at the NHL level of any kind before? You know what I mean? I don't care if he coached for a bad NHL team, coached at the NHL level. Instead, you get Marco Sturm, a minor league coach, after you say you're going to come in and bring someone in who's got room to evolve offensively. Marco Sturm's got plenty of room to evolve offensively. His team was not all that sharp offensively coaching in the AHL in Ontario. If you're happy about this move or you're still confused like me, get involved in the comments. Like and subscribe. Find us here every weekday because I'm trying to find some reasons here. I really am. I want just one Don Sweeney thing to go well. But then he tells me I'm looking for someone who's going to evolve offensively, and he brings in Marco Sturm. The one thing two things that Bruins fans have been trying to sell us on for why Marco Sturm is going to be a good fit for this Bruins team. The first thing is he's a great communicator. Damn, man. If I had a nickel for every time I heard someone involved with the Bruins was a great communicator, I wouldn't need to do this show. I'd be off on a beach somewhere. I'd be a friggin' millionaire every time I heard this coach is a great communicator. That sounds a lot like Jim Montgomery. And I'm sure Monty is a great communicator. That's fantastic. But when you don't get to hire your own staff and you don't get to even have a sniff at deciding who gets to play in Providence and who gets to play in Boston, who's up on the 9th floor on any given night, then does it really matter if you're a great communicator? Like, what's the point of having a great communicator if you're not the ones making the calls? There was all kinds of other problems with Jim Montgomery, but damned if he wasn't a great communicator. And you know who wasn't apparently a great communicator? Bruce Cassidy. All he did was take them to the Stanley Cup final. All he did was win a Stanley Cup his first year somewhere else. So boy, am I glad to get a great communicator in here. The other thing we heard about Marco Sturm, the other thing we continue to hear about Marco Sturm as to why he's a great fit for the Boston Bruins is look at the talent he's developed for the LA Kings. The big selling piece for Marco Sturm being a great fit for the Bruins was he developed this young talent that the Kings had. And look at how that Kings team looks now. We're crediting Marco Sturm for the development of Quentin Byfield and Brandt Clark. And we should, to some degree. He did coach them, right, for a little bit, especially Brandt Clark. He played some time in the AHL. But here's the difference. Brandt Clark was the 8th overall pick in the draft. Quentin Byfield was the 2nd overall pick in the draft. If you're looking at the guys the Bruins have, young guys at the NHL level right now, and the guys at the AHL level, their prospects, they don't have anything close to the talent that these guys had coming in. The only one that's close is James Hagens, and he's going to play in the NCAA this year. It's not going to fall under Marco Sturm's purview at all. They don't have anybody in that pipeline who had a top 10 overall pick talent. So we're starting at very different planes for Quentin Byfield and Brant Clark than we are for Fabian Lysell and Georgi Merkulov and Fraser Minton and Matt Patra. Like, we're not even close to the floor that those guys started on. We're about 3/4 below that, okay? We need to take an elevator ride to get up to those guys' floors. So when you're talking to me about developing young talent, that's true, but we're talking about two very different levels of young talent here. To use an old NFL example, I used to get this with Adam Gase. For those of you who follow the NFL, Adam Gase, man, the mind behind Peyton Manning's years with the Broncos. Of course, he can come in and develop our quarterbacks. But he didn't develop Peyton Manning. He developed Trevor Siemian. Now, how does that change your opinion? So, to me, Marco Sturm didn't develop Quentin Byfield and Brant Clark as much as he did someone like Andre Lee when it comes to comparing it to the Bruins. Because he did have a hand in developing Quentin Byfield and Brant Clark. But those guys come in with way more talent than anything the Bruins have. What the Bruins have is probably a little bit closer to Andre Lee, a winger who played a cup of coffee with the LA Kings this year and does seem to be part of their future plans in a bottom 6, bottom 3 role. He's a kid from UMass Lowell, taken 188th overall in the draft a couple years ago, had a nice little college career. But since then, he's played 4 seasons with the Ontario Reign and a handful of games with the LA Kings. In that time with Ontario, playing under Marco Sturm, he had 44 career points in 4 seasons. 4 seasons in the AHL. He's 25. Like, there's that kid's nothing. You know what I mean? He's not an NHL player. That's more what we're looking at with Marco Sturm's development history in terms of the planes he has to deal with the Bruins. Does that make sense? He's not getting a Quentin Byfield or a Brant Clark with the Bruins right now. He's getting Matthew Patra. He's getting Fraser Minton. He's getting Mason Lowry. Guys with some promise, sure, but top 10 pick, far from it. Far from it. And the other thing I was critical of with Marco Sturm is, what is the play style? Like, what is the thing about Marco Sturm? What's the stat that you circle and you say, that's where we need to get better? Here's how he's going to make us better. You know, I think there's a couple different ways the Bruins could go because they're so bad and they're so devoid of any identity right now. You could have gone 4 or 5 different ways and gotten the fan base excited. With Marco Sturm, I don't know if there's any of that. You know, his Ontario Reign team was had the 8th best record in the AHL this year, which is good, fine. Top 10 team in a 32-team league. That's fantastic, right? Except for the fact that he finished the same amount of points as the Providence Bruins, a team with apparently no prospects. No guys that are good enough to come up and play for the 15th worst team in the Eastern Conference at the NHL level. Ontario Reign, same finish. And offensive evolving, yeah, you need a lot of that. His power play last year for Ontario was 17%. That was 9th in their 10-team division. Not 9th in the league, 9th in their division. The Bruins were somehow even worse at the NHL level, 15.2%, 29th. So you bring in a head coach who oversaw a 17% power play last year. In fact, the only good move I think the Bruins have made on this coaching staff was getting Steve Spott in here. I doubt that was Marco Sturm's call because their Bruins are the only team in the league that doesn't allow their coach to pick his assistants. They pretty much fired Chris Kelly and then kept him, brought him back. Bob Asenza, Jay Leach, you all have jobs for life. Supreme Court justices, assistant coach for the Boston Bruins. Only the head coach gets axed all the time. It's only his fault ever. So I doubt it was his call. Maybe, I guess it must have been Don Sweeney's, which I'll give him credit for. I think this is a good move. Steve Spott for the power play. Been with the Stars the last couple of years. Dallas made a couple Western Conference finals with him there, and they had the 7th best power play in the whole league this year. So I'm in on that. Sure. I'm there. Steve Spott, great hire. And hopefully Chris Kelly, there's a lockbox that has the clipboards in it, and Chris Kelly does not have the code. I'll get to the point where we need to maybe even cut the fingers off of Chris Kelly so he cannot get an expo marker and go on the board again for the power play. That's frightening. And on the flip side, the penalty kill, because that's what I hear about Marco Sturm, defensive-minded coach. Great. I think the Bruins can win some games that way this year. I think they still have a strong D-core, and they should have a bounce-back year from their starting goaltender. I think that's a better way for you to win games than trying to make this an elite offensive team with the talent that you have right now. I'll agree with that. I'm not going to say you don't need more offensive talent, but I'll hear that out. In the short term, you got to win games defensively. Marco, 10th best penalty kill in the AHL last year. Top 10, barely. 83.5%. I'll take that. Of course, you have to take this with a grain of salt. It's AHL numbers versus NHL, and the talent is vastly different. But I'm just looking at play style. I'm looking to see what Marco Sturm actually brings to this and how the Bruins are actually going to play this year. And the only insight we've gotten into that, Marco Sturm and that press conference after free agency already just tickling Don Sweeney's balls, man. What does Marco Sturm say? What kind of play style does he want? We want to be hard to play against. Yes, baby. Yes. Don Sweeney 101. We want to be hard to play against. Something that is completely subjective. Something that is completely unquantifiable. We just want to be hard to play against. That's what they said last year when they brought in Max Jones and Nikita Zadorov. That's what they said. We want to be hard to play against. And again, you can't really quantify it. What does it look like to be hard to play against? In my opinion, and this is subjective, it might not be yours. My opinion, being hard to play against means you win hockey games and teams don't score on you. But we must not have the same definition, myself and the Boston Bruins, because they were anything but hard to play against last year, in my humble opinion. Okay? They couldn't put the puck in the net. They could fight, but they couldn't put the puck in the net. They couldn't stay out of the penalty box. They couldn't stop a puck to save their life. They had one of the worst goaltending tandems in the entire league last year. But damned if Don Sweeney doesn't come up there and say, we need to double down. We need to be tough to play against. We don't need to score goals. We don't need to have an effective power play. We don't need to have NHL above average goaltenders. We need to be tough to play against. That's what we're doubling down on. That's what we're going to again. Like, am I missing something? Is there something that I'm just not getting here? It's almost like fatigue with Bruins fans and Don Sweeney to the point of, like, we criticize them for the trades. We criticize them for the draft picks. We criticize them for the free agent signings. We almost don't even have any capacity anymore to criticize them for this head coaching hire. I think a lot of Bruins fans are sitting there thinking, yeah, what'd you expect? Like, they pretty much waited it out to see if they could get Pete DeBoer. And then a day before Pete DeBoer's on the market, they hired a minor league coach. They went after a guy in Jay Woodcroft, who Anaheim was all too happy to bring in as their assistant coach. And I was critical of Jay Woodcroft as well. But to me, that resume speaks louder than Marco Sturm's. And if you're going to tell me once again that you like the hire because he's a great communicator, I need more than that. I'm sorry. I need more than that. I heard that with the last guy. And it was an ugly, ugly exit as the team got progressively worse each of the years he was here. So I need more than a great communicator. I need more than just, he'll get guys to go to the paint. I need like real commentary here. I need real analytics. I need real stats. I need real strategy to get me on board with Marco Sturm. So what is it that we're missing? I need to know. If you know what it is, tell me in the comment section below. Get involved in the comment section. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. It helps me keep my job, helps me keep us on the air every day. We'll also have the segments going out on YouTube as well, so you can find us there and wherever you find your podcasts. But seriously, guys, what am I missing with Marco Sturm? I need something. I need something tangible here. I need some former player to come out with a story. Because, I'll compare it to football again. When Mike Vrabel came to coach the Patriots in January, right? This is not apples to apples because he had coached in the NFL before. He's been a successful coach in the NFL before. Marco Sturm has not done that in the NHL. He's been okay at the AHL level, okay? And so when Mike Vrabel comes in, there's an instant change in the attitude around this fan base. And former players come in and say, he's going to be this, this, and this. He's going to demand perfection out of you guys. He's not going to be afraid to call out the veterans. They're going to be a tough, physical defense. That's how he wants to win games. And on and on and on. With Marco Sturm, let me backtrack. With the Patriots, they could have said, Mike Vrabel won 3 Super Bowls with us. Linebacker who could catch touchdowns. Do you remember that? But they didn't do that. We heard from former players. We heard about how demanding Mike Vrabel was and how he wants to win games, how he builds the defense, how he calls out veterans, how he holds guys accountable. With Marco Sturm and the Bruins, it's the low-hanging fruit. We didn't hear anything from former players. We didn't hear exactly what he's looking for. We don't know what his strategy is. We don't know how he wins games. We don't know how he holds players accountable. In fact, all that we saw after he was hired was, remember when he scored that goal at Fenway? How could you forget? 15 years ago. You remember that? What a moment in history. Why wouldn't you want that guy to be your head hockey coach 15 years later? Huh? Guys, remember that when we were good? That's all we got from the Bruins side of things. That's why I got nothing on this Marco Sturm front. I think about this team purely from a personnel standpoint and not a coaching staff standpoint. With the Patriots, there's reason to get excited, even though it's a very young team that's still not very talented. They're building something, and you think they're going to win some games this year because of their coach. With the Bruins, it's just the opposite. I have no idea if they can win games because of their coach. And for Don Sweeney to sit up there, cock of the walk, after the dismal season that they had and say, what coach would want to turn down 100 years of tradition? Apparently, almost all of them. Because you had to get one from the minors. You couldn't get a coach with some sort of NHL head coaching experience before to coach the Boston freaking Bruins, man. This franchise like that used to mean something. That used to have some pull. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, Don Sweeney would have been right to have that cocky attitude. But now, after this, after you fire everybody and don't give the head coach any control, it's no freaking wonder why nobody wants to coach here. Why would they? You're probably going to win Coach of the Year, but you're not going to be able to pick your assistants. You're not going to be able to pick who goes up or goes down for your player standpoint. And you're going to get canned. You're going to get fired. And you're going to get fired. That's what's going to happen. Why would anybody want to coach here? Maybe that's our answer with Marco Sturm right now. But if you're more confident, please let me know. Let me know in the comment section below what you feel about Marco Sturm, about this hockey hire. It's almost like a hockey trade, but a hockey hire for the Boston Bruins. Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, like, subscribe. That helps out the channel a lot. Only about 10% of you watching on average are actually subscribed. So get on in there, man. Subscribe. We're bringing you Bruins hockey content every single weekday, live on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. We'll be talking about some more Bruins when we talk about this goaltending situation. Jonas Corposalo, Michael DiPietro, Jeremy Swayman. Who needs to step up? Who stays? Who goes? And why did the Bruins back themselves into a corner here? It's arguably the most important position in the sport, depending on who you ask. Why the Bruins have cocked it up so royally. That's coming up next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Did you know nearly all stock price changes of 10% or more result from a single news headline? These news catalysts create trading opportunities every day. All you need is a little help to reach out and take them. It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
ushered.com.
I've always had thin hair my whole life. It breaks off at a certain length. In the last 6 months, I've noticed it just really bad. I mean, you could totally see it. I wear a hat a lot. I tried several different products. My experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
ushered.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back to our show, The Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm Cam, your host, Cam Stuart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air as he does 5 days a week. I did want to get in the comment section here before getting into our next stuff. Zach brings up a great point in the comment section. Who would want to work for Don Sweeney? Like, seriously, who would want to work for him? They become the fall guy, no control over anything. I think that's exactly right, Zach. I think that's exactly right. Like, who would want to do it? I don't know. I sure as heck wouldn't. And I think we saw that bear out with how the coaching search went. It took 2 months to get a minor leaguer. Like, you were bidding against nobody for. I don't think Marco Sturm was sitting there. There were a lot of head coaching vacancies this summer. I don't think Don Sweeney, I don't think Marco Sturm was just lining up the interviews. And I don't think he's like a bad coaching candidate necessarily. That's where I'm at. Like, I don't think he's going to be like a disaster. I really don't, but I don't have any reason to think of why he's going to be great. I would have loved for him to come on as an assistant coach. But again, that's like a Supreme Court justice. You don't lose that job. It's the greatest job security in the world, being an assistant coach for the Boston Bruins. Best job ever. Chris Kelly basically got fired after the season, and now he's back. He's just there. So yeah, guys, get involved in the comment section. If you have anything to say about this Don Sweeney and the head coaching hire of Marco Sturm, I know we're kind of revisiting it a month and a half later, but it's just been something I've been thinking about a lot lately. We're going to talk about goalies here in a second. So if you have thoughts on the Bruins goalie situation, absolutely get involved in the comment section here. And for those of you that are new, like, subscribe, find us on YouTube every weekday, and find us wherever you get your podcasts as well. But let's talk about this now. The Bruins are in a goalie mess here, kind of big time, and they've only themselves to blame. Again, it used to be that the Bruins treated goaltender almost on a higher plane than every other team in the league, right? The Bruins have won in the last 10, 15 years, thanks in a huge part to their goaltending situation. To go from Tim Thomas to a Hall of Famer in Tuukka Rask to a shrewd move to bring in Linus Ullmark and then develop what looks like a young star in Jeremy Swayman. Like, nobody in this league has had a better last 15 years of goalie, except for maybe the New York Rangers, going essentially from Lundqvist to Shesterkin. Like, the Bruins have been in a really good spot. Credit to Bob Essenza, credit to their scouting department, obviously going back a long time, but they have won primarily because of the goaltender. I don't think you need to do that in today's NHL, but certainly the Bruins have done it. And so now going into the 2025-26 season, the Bruins goalie situation is as weird and as messed up as it's been in a long time. Let me start by saying this. I expect a bounce back season from Jeremy Swayman. I do. It was a bad year last year. We'll get into more of that as we talk here. But I do expect Jeremy Swayman to bounce back. I do think Jeremy Swayman's the number one goalie in this league. $8.25 million a year. I don't know if he's quite worth that. But I think he is an above average goalie in this league who deserves to be a starter on a decent team and could be an all-star goalie again. I really believe that. That said, where the Bruins have really messed this up is the goaltending tandem. Okay? One of the reasons they were so great, I mean, probably their biggest reason they set the wins and points record 2 years ago was because they had the best goaltending tandem maybe in NHL history. Now they have something far, far from that, and Don Sweeney's the only one really to blame. He did not handle that Linus Ullmark trade well last year at all. He trades Ullmark in June, knowing he's going to have to extend one of these guys as Ullmark goes into a contract year, and so does Jeremy Swayman. And he just lays his cards out right away. A week before free agency opens, he has zero leverage. Zero. Because he's already traded the other guy. And Joonas Korpisalo was not going to be the Bruins starting goalie going into 24-25. So, of course, Jeremy Swayman was going to hold his feet over the fire. That's Don Sweeney's fault. So when Cam Neely and Don Sweeney are bitching up there about how they can't get a contract done, that is your fault. That's your fault. And the trade to begin with sucked. You got a 25th overall pick to get a project kid who had 2 points in the NCAA this year in Dean Letourneau. And you brought in, who was statistically maybe the worst goalie in the league last year, in Joonas Korpisalo at a $4 million cap hit. You saved $1 million on that. Who wins that deal? It's Ottawa. 11 times out of 10, they win that deal. And Ullmark, who battled some injuries this past year, had a very good year again. And Joonas Korpisalo is what you thought he was, a bad goalie. And guess what? You've got 3 more years of him at a $4 million cap hit for a guy that you didn't even trust to play. He played 27 games last year. It's like throwing Jeremy Swayman to the wolves almost as punishment. Of like, yeah, we gotta throw him out there 50, 60 games because we're paying him $8.25 million. It's just a terrible trade strategy. It was a terrible return. It just didn't make any sense. And all that for a Vezina winning goalie that you traded within your division with a team that you knew was going to be battling for a playoff spot against you. Like, what an awful, awful, awful move. And Ottawa gave up on Korpisalo after 1 season. They had to attach a first-round pick just to get rid of him. And they got a great return. And this is not 1 year for Joonas Korpisalo. This has been a downward trend, man. He's had a sub-900 save percentage in 4 of the last 5 years. Like, that's kind of the difference between league starter and just not good enough. He's had a sub-900 save percentage 4 of the last 5 seasons. Linus Ullmark has never had a sub-900 save percentage for a season. Not one time in his career. Joonas Korpisalo makes a regular habit out of it. And you're still locked down to him for another 3 years. Which is all the more confusing that you extended your Providence Bruins goalie, Michael DiPietro, for 2 years this summer. In a vacuum, I like that. You know why? Because Michael DiPietro should be your backup goalie. He had an unbelievable season in Providence this past year. There's no reason DiPietro shouldn't be the second part of the tandem with Jeremy Swayman. He is 26 years old and playing minor league hockey. But we know goalies are weird, man. The guy, like the greatest goaltending hero of my lifetime is Tim Thomas, who was like playing in Finland at age 26, man. Like he had this weird serpentine route to the NHL. Michael DiPietro has the same kind of deal. I'm not saying he's going to turn out to be Tim Thomas, but he's played one NHL game in the regular season with Vancouver. He gave up 7 goals in that game. They threw him to the Wolves, and then they gave up on him. They traded him to the Bruins for Jack Studnicka. Remember that name? And he had to go down to the ECHL before making it back to the AHL. This dude was playing for the Maine Mariners a couple years ago. And last year, he stepped out in a big way. He won the Baz Bastian Award, the Vezina Trophy for the AHL last season. 26, 8, and 5. He was third in the league at 2.05 goals against average, and he led the entire AHL with a .927 save percentage. That's not just Vezina stuff. That's almost league MVP kind of numbers for a goalie. And he's just sitting there doing it in Providence. While Jonas Korpisalo has an .890 save percentage in the NHL. It doesn't make any sense. And now, Don Sweeney, you've put yourself in a hell of a bind once again. You've backed yourself into a corner with your goalies. You probably should have dealt Jonas Korpisalo before the beginning of last season, and maybe it wasn't DiPietro at that point. Maybe you just got a league average backup. You know, someone like a Jaro Halak, who's been on this team before, just recently retired. You maybe get someone like that. I think there was a lot of buzz around that before last season because you traded a guy with a $5 million cap hit who was one of the best goalies in the league for arguably the worst goalie in the league at a $4 million cap hit. It just didn't make any sense to keep him. I think a lot of people expected Jonas Korpisalo to be traded before last year, but they're either naive or they're not used to the Don Sweeney experience because he's all in on deals that just make no sense. And now to get rid of him, you're going to have to do what Ottawa did. You're going to have to trade a first-round pick along with it. Nobody wants Korpisalo. Nobody. I don't even think Edmonton would go for him. He's not even as good as Stuart Skinner. You'd have to tack on legit draft capital just to get rid of this guy. While you sit down there in the minors with a guy who is clearly too good for the AHL. Do those numbers automatically translate Michael DiPietro as a starting caliber goalie in the NHL? Of course that's not automatic. Of course it's not. But we're not talking about having a good season in the AHL. We're talking about having a dominant season in the AHL. You got to give the kid a look. That is one of Don Sweeney's biggest problems and one of the Boston Bruins' biggest problems of the last couple of seasons, the last 2 or 3 years, specifically the last 1 or 2 years. You've got to give these kids a look at some point. And we saw it at the tail end of last season, but probably not enough for as bad as that team was for the whole year. Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov, Matt Poitras, Fraser Minton. These guys have to play in the NHL at this point. You've got to see what they have. And the goaltending situation is no different. You've got to see what Michael DiPietro can give you. You've got to see what he can be at the NHL level. If it's going to take a Jonas Korpisalo injury to get him up there, that's a big issue, man. Because what does Korpisalo give you? He sucks, man. Like, let's be straight up. The dude is not an NHL caliber goalie at this point. And he has not shown that in basically the last 5 seasons. Columbus signs him to a contract. They give up on him. They send him to LA. Ottawa signs him to a 5-year contract, gives him up after a year. And the Bruins are willing to trade a Vezina-winning goalie for him. Make it make sense. Please, somebody help me. Why isn't Michael DiPietro the backup right now? Why wasn't he at the end of last season? When you could have traded Korpisalo for, I don't know, scraps at the trade deadline. You still would have had to attach something. Probably not a first-round pick. Probably a 3rd or 4th-round pick for some flyer. Some Andre Kasha type flyer. You're not getting anything out of Jonas Korpisalo. Meanwhile, Michael DiPietro is carrying the P Bruins into the postseason last year in the AHL. Carrying them. Arguably the most valuable player in the entire league. winning the AHL Vezina. And yet we're going to see him in Providence again. Going to see him at the Dunk, not going to see him at the Garden. You're going to pay $150 to sit in the balcony on a Tuesday night to see Jonas Korpisalo give up 5 against Columbus. That's what you're going to be in for this year. I don't know, man. Somebody's got to help me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is it time for Michael DiPietro? And how important is this goaltending position this year? We'll talk about Jeremy Swayman a little bit more this week and why I believe in a bounce back. But how important is it for the Bruins to have above average goaltending if they have any kind of outside shot of making the playoffs? Goaltender can fix a lot of ills on a team. So that's why I think it's time for Michael DiPietro. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It is completely free. Helps us out a ton, helps me out, helps me keep my job. So like, subscribe, find us on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast as well. Check out the other videos on the channel. Talking Bruins, everything else going on in the world of Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stuart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. Coming up, it's a big week for the Red Sox. We get the trade deadline in T-minus 3 days. Do they have one of the worst starting pitchers in all of baseball? Is this the end of what was a once promising career? And what does that mean for Red Sox trades this week? Let's talk about it next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Visit roguemediamusic.com for more music.
Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm Cam, your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeping us on the air as he does 5 days a week, man. Zach Burke, just behind the scenes, grinding away. We'll have him on the show tomorrow, actually. It's been a minute, but we've had some things moving around. I've got a move coming up this week, so we'll do a little bit different, some different stuff on the show this week. We've talked some Bruins. We have talked about the goaltending situation, about their new head coach, Marco Sturm, and maybe trying to find the hidden reasons why that could be a successful hire. And now I got to look at the Red Sox. This is a massive week for the Red Sox. Trade deadline coming up this Thursday. They need to make some moves. I know they're teasing us right now by saying they're not, but they got to make some moves. And I've been going back and forth on what the biggest need is, starting pitcher or first base. And I tell you, it's by the day. They're both massive needs for this team. But with a bad couple of outings for Lucas Giolito here, it certainly kind of tips the scale more towards the starting pitcher. And at the back end of that rotation, we're seeing something really sad. This really could be the end for Walker Buehler. Like, this genuinely could be the end of his career that we're watching unfold right in front of our eyes. It's sad, man. He was a once promising pitcher. Those of us as Red Sox fans, we saw it in the 2018 World Series, right? He was electric in that game 3. And the Red Sox, I thought, made a good move by taking a flyer on him, $20 million, but 1 year for a guy who's coming off an injury going into last season, didn't have a good regular season, but had a very strong playoffs and was a huge part of the Dodgers winning the World Series last year. I saw that and I said, I'm okay with that. Because when the Red Sox didn't spend money for so long, you'd wish they'd even do something like this, let alone like a big, kind of like the Rafi Devers extension, let alone that. You were just like, let's take a flyer on someone and spend some money to do it. And they did. It's not working. Walker Buehler is legitimately one of the worst pitchers in all of Major League Baseball. And I had to ask the question yesterday watching the game, why is he still an MLB player? Why is he still on this roster? This is a team that can actually make the postseason this year. Why is Walker Buehler a part of this? How can you roll him out there every 5th day and say, yeah, we're making a playoff push here? It's a joke at this point. Even after a good start in Philadelphia last week, he came right back down to 2025 Walker Buehler against the Dodgers. 4 2/3, 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. He also walked 5 in 4 2/3 and threw 104 pitches. 104 pitches to get 14 outs and only threw 56 strikes. That's horrid, man. That is abysmal. And the numbers say it too. He's got a 5.72 ERA. That's the 6th worst among starting pitchers with at least 80 innings pitched. 6th worst. Like, we're talking about the bottom of the barrel kind of company this guy's keeping right now. And for his career numbers, highest walk per 9 rate, lowest strikeout per 9 rate, worst strikeout to walk ratio. That's just 1.73. That's horrible. Also, career worst FIP, which is almost 6, and a career worst ERA plus. 72 on his ERA plus. He is nearly 30% worse than the league average starting pitcher. The average. And we talked about how bad a year he had last season in 2024. He had a better ERA plus last year. He had a better strikeout per 9, a better walk per 9, a better home run per 9. We are talking about the worst season of his career playing out right in front of us when his career is on the line as a 1-year deal guy at age 30. He's done, man. He's done. And it brings up a much larger issue with this Red Sox starting rotation. I had this thought, like, can you trust putting out Walker Buehler in a playoff game? And I've gone back and forth on that this season. But now my question is, you can't trust him in a playoff game. Like, I've given that up. You can't trust him to start a playoff game, even though he's got great postseason numbers in his career. But the question has now gone from, can he start in a playoff game, to, can you get to the playoffs with him starting every 5th day? I just don't think you can. I think you might have to pull off a Jake Peavy kind of deal where you can bring someone in who can just start every 5th day rather than Walker Buehler or Dick Fitz. Problem is, I don't know who's out there for that. Zach Gallen would be the one that you'd say, oh yeah, that guy is not having a great season. Jake Peavy wasn't having a great season in 2013. Zach Gallen's not having a great year. You could bring him in. He could eat innings. He could be a major league starter. Except for the fact that his numbers are right there with Walker Buehler's. He's walking less guys, but his ERA plus is the same, basically. His is 79. Walker's is 72. We're not talking about a huge upgrade with Zach Gallen. But, man, when you're going to need to, like, on a day that you need to save your bullpen, you can't put Walker out there. 14 outs, 104 pitches, and barely 50% of them were strikes. He walked their worst hitter twice yesterday. He scored both times. In fact, Red Sox pitching had 9 walks in the series finale against the Dodgers. How are you going to beat good teams doing that? You got lucky yesterday, but how are you going to beat good teams walking 9 guys, putting their 2 worst hitters on base a combined 8 times? It's ridiculous, man. And I don't think your bullpen is going to give you what they gave you in the first half of the season, just because I don't believe in Jordan Hicks, who got the save. I don't believe in him long term. And then you look at this Red Sox rotation, starters and bullpen, and you think, how many of these guys do I trust in a playoff game? How many of these guys do I trust towards the end of the season? Walker Buehler with his negative WAR? Lucas Giolito? Richard Fitz? Jordan Hicks? Brennan Bernardino? How many of these guys do I trust? Chris Murphy? No sign of Justin Slayton. No sign of Tanner Houck. How many of these guys do I trust every day in a high leverage situation? How many do I trust every 5th day as a starting pitcher? How many do I trust to trot out there for game 3 of a best of 7 series? Game 4 of a best of 7 series when someone has a 2-1 advantage or a 3-0 advantage? Who do I trust? The number's very small. It's Garrett Crochet. It's a little bit of Brian Bayo. Outside of that, I don't know if we can even go for Lucas Giolito at this point. Red Sox got to make some moves, man. They got to get a starting pitcher in here. But for Walker Buehler, this is sad. This is probably the end. Like, if he gets shut down in the next month, injury or otherwise, he's going to sign a minor league deal next year. Doesn't mean he can't make the majors again. He's probably better than a lot of minor league pitchers, right? It's a sad thing to say at this point in the season. He's probably better than a lot of minor leaguers. But he is. But for a team that's looking to go forward and progress into the postseason and still potentially challenge for the division title here, I don't know if Toronto's going to be the best team in baseball all season long. If you have that kind of ambition, Walker Buehler can't be part of it. And if you go out and get a pitcher or two, or maybe Tanner Houck comes back this season, I doubt it, then he and or Walker could be reliable long relief guys, which you don't have right now and you will need for the postseason. Maybe that's what he becomes. And maybe he fills that role like he did with the Dodgers last year in the playoffs, and he was kind of an excellent bullpen arm for them. But right now, we are watching Walker Buehler's career crumble right before our eyes in a really crucial time for the Red Sox. And not to be too dramatic, but a time in Red Sox history. This should be the beginning of a new era. And if it's not, fans are going to start to revolt even more than they already have. They're going to be striking just like the workers, the concession workers. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What have you thought of Walker Buehler so far? What do you think they need to go out and get at this MLB trade deadline? And where do you see them ending up? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps me keep my job, helps my boss know that I'm doing work here. Okay, over 90% of you are not subscribed, so let's get in there. It's completely free. Like, subscribe. You'll find Boston sports news coming 5 days a week on YouTube and wherever you find your podcasts as well. So if you're new to the channel, check out the channel, or check out the channel. Check out the videos, talking Red Sox, talking a lot of Bruins and everything else going on in the world of Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. That's why it's called The Cam Show. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We will see you tomorrow on another edition of a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Sains, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit twosains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.